Several months ago, I decided I would begin chronicling my exploration in videos of historical and conflict gaming. That includes hex and counter war games like Salla 1941 here. It includes miniatures games and even computer war games. Some. Um, so this is another installment. This is a continuation of a playthrough of Salla 1941, A Fight to the Finish. This is a Just Plain War Games title by Pacific Rim Publishing. I do have some quick comments in passing before we get back into it, but definitely the overriding purpose here is to show this game in play. I think maybe a video like this would be of use to a beginner, somebody thinking about getting into hex and counter war games. I will say again that this game and its sister game Kastenga, I mean, these are the games right here that helped seal the deal for me to get into, traditional hex and counter wargaming. What do I mean by that? There was in these games, there's just enough illusion of military operations, main offensives and flanking, and reestablishing defensive lines. The random formation chip pull mechanism keeps it very, very, very interesting. The random chip pull for formations and the different unit types. From German engineers and Finnish engineers to different types of artillery here, longer range artillery. I'm sure these are supposed to represent heavier caliber artillery here, like this Soviet artillery battalion has a combat factor of 3 at a range of 8, that tiny, tiny 8 that is above the dash in the middle, lower middle of the counter is the range. Yeah, just enough to help pull me into this part of the hobby. Now, the Salla 1941 and its sister game Kastenga, I think underneath the hood, these games have a very, very solid engine. Very solid engine. What I mean by that is that in the mechanics, in the play, and I now have about a dozen plays of both games together. The mechanics have never produced for me a result on the board that left me scratching my head going, how did that happen? Not that a couple of the rules in the not in the rule books have not left me scratching my head wondering, I'm not exactly sure what that rule is supposed to represent or why it was designed in that way, but the mechanics work, and they work very well. Of course, they are basic; they're not inspiring. So again, I think a video like this, a clear video playthrough, see it played, treatment of a game like this, again, maybe like these games drew me in, maybe others can see how these, how the basics, the very, very, very basics of hex and counter wargaming, historical, how they work, what it's all about. So back to the battle here. Let's talk about the map again. I was thinking earlier about why does a very plain map like this? Okay, clearly this map looks, actually this looks like a playtest map, right? Nothing to say about it at all, graphically speaking. Yes, it is very clear, easily able to be read and grasped, but I was figuring out why maps like this do not bother me at all. And I think it's because I don't really care what the map looks like per se. What I do care very much about is whether you have enough, and there's probably a sweet spot actually, not too much, not too little, but you need to have enough variety and enough representation of the terrain to make the map interesting to play on, basically. And this map does it. There's a lot of forest, which is the light green speckle pattern here, the little tree symbols again, right there. Very basic for sure. There's a lot of forest. The dense forest, dense forest predominates in the north here and in the south. You have more open areas here in the center. These are all open areas here. But by far the most, I guess, dominating terrain feature of this map area are these lakes here. Lakes. These long linear, these are long linear obstacles is what they are. In Salla 1941 here, there are no lake crossings, no lake crossing capability, so you have essentially this long barrier. It has two land bridges here that can be crossed. Otherwise, these are hard boundaries. Artillery can obviously, as you can imagine, artillery can obviously fire over, but other than that, these are hard boundaries. So it is an interesting little operational challenge for the Axis driving west to east. How are they going to manage going around the north, going around the south, crossing these land bridges? How are they going to negotiate basically this center portion here? And obviously the Soviet player has some interesting decisions to make about how to defend, how to fall back or how to withdraw when necessary, and so forth. So what these games in particular do well is that they deliver a lot of gaming fun and interesting gaming for a very small overall content or dimension, scope, however you want to look at it. So you do get, despite all my little play aids I've added here, you only get that 11 by 17 paper map and one sheet of 100 counters. So I add my own little, objective control markers. I add my own play aids for identifying, for pre-identifying battles and in what order. My own tile spacers to mark when my artillery have fired so that they cannot move during the same turn. My own turn marker, and record air support points, etc., etc. My own dice, etc. All you have to supply all that. So let's get back to, we are starting turn 3. In review, here's the turn track here, turn 1 through 10. We're starting turn 3 here. The red marker that I put on turn 5, that's a reminder that starting at the end of turn 5, we will begin rolling for an immediate end to the game. So this is real-time pressure on the Axis to get going and try to make headway. All right. By the way, I should say the nice thing about these games, because they are not simple, I should say they're not simple I go, you go. It's interesting. The random formation draw, of course, makes it interesting, but at the same time, if you are a beginning war gamer, it's not that hard to kind of get going. It's not that hard to figure out what to do. I think this is another good reason why this is a good beginner war game, is because you draw that random formation. We drew the 1st Tank Division. You draw the formation chit, and so as you can imagine, you only have to worry about, okay, this is 1st Tank Division. That's the red counters down here. This is all you have to worry about. And you go through 4 simple phases for this formation segment. Reinforcements, armored movement, combat, and regular movement or general movement. And that's it. So this is a formation segment. This is the reinforcement phase of a formation segment. So I'm going to go ahead and roll for the Axis air support points. Remember that the Axis can... Wait a minute. Okay, I just realized something. Let's review that short air support section again. During the reinforcement phase of each formation segment, the Axis player rolls 1 die for air support. On a roll of 5, he receives 1 air support point. On a roll of 6, he receives 2. If he is successful, he may not roll again for air support until the next turn. He may decline to roll for air support, hoping to save it for another formation segment. Okay. I'll change my interpretation I made earlier. That implies to me that you do not save the air support points. It's okay in this game so far because I actually hadn't used those to... I don't think I used them. So I guess that won't matter, but if the rules emphasize that the Axis player may want to not roll for the air support points until a later formation segment, that only makes sense. Now I'm thinking that only makes sense if it is a use or lose situation. Alright, we'll go with that. So, not wanting to think too much about it this game, we'll go ahead and roll for the... Wait a minute. But if it's use or lose during a formation segment, then that implies that it's only the Axis segments, because there would be no use during... Yeah, there would be no use during a Soviet formation segment. Alright. There we go, folks. Worked through on the spot. Okay, I'm going to go with roll during Axis formation segments, use or lose during that segment. That way, the Axis player is taking a chance on when he has air support available. And that sits just a tiny bit better with me, because before I didn't understand what accumulating air support points was supposed to represent. Alright, back to 1st Tank. So nothing to do in the reinforcement phase. We have the armored movement phase, which includes pretty much, I think, all of 1st Tank. I think, the entire division that is left on the, or that's in this scenario. They all qualify for armored movement. I think right now it looks like the 1st Tank has successfully established a defense here. I'll just say. So they'll keep their engineers, their motorized engineers. Alright, it's time to get in here. Alright. And alright, that's a better view. So here's 1st Tank down here. To review, we have some armored. We have an armored reconnaissance battalion here in the forest. We have two battalions of motorized infantry here on the road between Vuorjärvi and the Alakurti Salla road. Headquarters back here, the division headquarters with some artillery, more artillery, and more artillery. So 4 complete battalions of artillery here. Here are the motorized engineers. So I think that's actually, well, I think that they are where they need to be for now. Yeah, they are. Okay. So no armored movement. Combat now. Do they try? So they can mass 6 and 12. They can mass 12, 16. They can mass 16 combat factors against, there we go, against the Finnish light infantry here, which in the forest, its 6 combat factors is doubled to 12, so that's still only 1 to 1. Do they? Yeah, 1 to 1 is just not good enough. 1 to 1 is still not good enough. No, they will decline combat. Now for movement, oh, that light infantry is really nimble. Remember that this 1 light infantry battalion, in this scenario we have the 1 Finnish light infantry battalion. It moves through the forest at only 1 movement point per hex. That means that this 1 battalion can go 1, 2. So there's Alakurti, a major objective. This light infantry battalion can go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and just go completely around the Soviets, where it has a straight shot to Alakurti. So really, first tank has to deal with that, and they will. Okay, so no combat will go to the movement phase. So now everybody moves, including even those that move during the armored movement phase. So they're going to deal with this situation. So the motorized infantry have 4 movement factors. So it's 1, 2, 4. So it's 1, 2, 3. So what they're going to readjust their lines here. They're really going to go to a purely defensive deployment here. You're going to move another one of these battalions back to cover Alakurti. So 1/2 1, 1/2 2, 2.5 3. Yeah, go ahead. Cross the bridge into Alakurti. So now the first tank division leaders can sleep more soundly at night, knowing that the Finns are not going to dash around and seize an important geographic objective. Alright, so that is the first tank's formation segment. That's all there is to that. So next formation randomly drawn is SS Nord Division. Okay, so this is a Axis formation segment. So yeah, Axis side will choose to roll, and they only roll a 1, so no air support. Okay, so he can continue rolling in each continues rolling until he's successful for the first time during the turn. All right, so back to the SS division. Now we're using the optional rule. So if there is a legal attack, there still is not a legal attack, but they would have to attack. Remember, they still cannot mass enough combat power to even get a 1-to-1 attack against Kairala village here. So that's just not happening. Is there anything for them to do? No, not really. So I'm just gonna go right through that. There's nothing for that division to do this time around. Okay, 122nd Rifle Division. 122nd is yeah, this 122nd is the white Soviet division up here, right here. So what's going on in their sector? So the 122nd Division headquarters is right here, by the way. Right away, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm counting from the headquarters, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, to make sure that this stack is still in command control range. Remember that this goes over anything. It is a simple 5 hex radius. It goes over terrain, over enemy units, and that's that. So you can see all the white NATO symbols here of the division. Everybody's within 5 hexes of the division headquarters, so we're good there. Reinforcement phase, nothing to do. We'll go to armored movement phase. So again, the 122nd Division is holding the Kairala objective. They're also holding this point. It's not an objective, but blocking the road here, the Salla North Map Edge Road that the Axis could use. Now, what the Soviets are going to decide to do, and I'm not saying this has any tactical validity whatsoever, but for the purposes of this playthrough, the Soviet side is actually going to start pulling back on that north flank. Pull back, shorten the lines. Basically, we're in the third turn. We'll go ahead and assess that they've held long enough here. And so before they get, before the Axis mass against them, they're going to start pulling back. Otherwise, they're holding this important central sector here between the Nurmi River and the lakes. Right now, it looks like they will hold for now. But what do, yeah. Yeah, so it's enough. I mean, the Axis have definitely broken through here somewhat because Soviet Zoks only go here and here and here, but not here. All right, so that's enough of the assessment. There is nothing for the armored movement phase, but so the next thing to look for is, are there any vulnerable? No, there are no vulnerable. Well, actually, except for the no, nothing. They could attack the SS here in the center, but no, they won't. Okay, so go to the combat phase. Again, there's nothing vulnerable enough to strike. Again, they could try to take out this engineer unit, which is actually an enticing target, but that, of course, would preclude pulling back that I just talked about. So, yeah, it could. From what I can see right now, that could go either way. Yeah, we'll skip that. We'll go to the movement phase, and so they will do. They will move to. They enter an enemy Zoc, so they have to stop immediately. Okay, so this is the only 1 hex movement they're allowed to make in this direction. Now if he advances, he could advance 2, 3, but then he's left in the open and he'll be vulnerable to Axis attack. He could just move 2, stop because of the German Zoc here, and that then pushes a Soviet Zoc into that clear hex that I pointed out just a couple minutes ago. So they'll do that, and that's enough. Okay, that was the 4 phases of that formation segment. Next is the 104th Rifle. Oops. 104th Rifle. 104th has the southern sector here. So that's the plain NATO symbols here. No color, clear NATO symbols here. So again, the 104th has the task of defending here at Makola and the land bridge, and they have the responsibility of this southern flank. They were last trying to establish a defensive line here to check the Finnish drive here. So they're going to continue with that. It's really only a question of how and where to readjust these lines. This battalion is going to stay here to back up its other battalions from the 217th Regiment here. The armor will stay there for now. This infantry battalion here. It could. It'll go ahead and move. So that's all 3 movement points to move across the mountain there, which is really a hill. They call it mountain. It's really a hill. There we go. Combat phase. There still doesn't appear to be anybody vulnerable because these Finns are all in the forest, and they're 5 combat strength infantry battalions anyways. So they are, yeah. Yeah. I did that, never mind, I did that out of order. There were no combats, we went to the regular movement phase. That infantry battalion moves there as part of the regular movement phase. And we'll go ahead and move this one. This infantry battalion is going to move this way, 1 hex, stop because of enemy Zoc. Yeah, that's the 104th Rifle Division formation segment. Go next to the 169th German Division. So they are here. In the north here, it's all of these units here. Remember, this is the Axis main effort. So we go to the, it is an Axis formation segment, so we're going to roll for air support, roll a 2, unsuccessful. So that's the reinforcement phase. Now we go to the armored movement phase. They need to continue trying to keep the pressure. So one thing they'll try, they have this armored battalion back here attached. That's the 40th Armored Panzer Battalion. You need to get that into the fight. So I never found yet reference to this 1 cavalry battalion here, how it's treated. Is it treated as armored movement? I don't even know which way to go on that. I was about to say treat it as armored, but actually I don't think so. I don't know. Alright, for now I'm just going to say that it is not armored. Treat it as armored for armored movement. I'm not even sure about that. Okay, so see what we can consider the movement of the Panzer Battalion. We need to get it into the fight actually, so I'll just go ahead and it's going to move along the road 1/2, 1.5, and then into the forest here and join the cavalry battalion. So what was that? 3.5? Yeah, 3.5. Other than that, we have there's some infantry under there, but it's leg infantry, artillery. Okay. And now we can consider the movement of this motorized machine gun battalion, which actually I do want to move it. It's only a question of where. Does he go here? Or does he go here? Does he cross the cross back over to the west side of the Nurmi River? Which actually he could. And then they could launch an attack against this. Let's try that. Go back, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4. There. Okay. So that's the armored movement phase. Now we go to the combat phase. So we'll go ahead and mark this battle. We'll try to take that unit out, because any retreat result will be an elimination. So the odds of eliminating that unit are actually quite good. Zoom in on the battle. Here we go. Right here. Do we want? Yeah. See, now we're out of position because the Soviets pulled back here, and because our combat phase precedes our regular movement phase. We're out of sync here for an attack. So we'll just go with this one attack here. We will commit. Well, I have to add it up. Okay, so defending our 6 combat factors. So let's see what we can mass here. Let's see what we can mass. We've got 5, and we've got 6, and we've got 3, and we've got, should be 8. 8. Alright, so that's 22 just adjacent to 6. Wow, we're already to 3 to 1. Oh, this would be combined arms, because we finally got our tanks in with our infantry. Now, do they have to be stacked together? They're both participating in the same attack. So they don't have to be. Okay, so they don't have to be stacked together. What was I? Guess I was thinking of some other game. Okay, so we're going to get the combined arms bonus. So we're already to 3 to 1 plus 1 column shift 4 to 1. Oh, just moving to 4 to 1 column. If we were at 3 to 1, we could still get an exchange result and take some losses, even though the defender would still be eliminated in this case because he can't retreat. If we get up to 4 to 1, the defender's automatically going to be eliminated. So, So we'll do that. We don't need the artillery. Huh. An automatic, yeah, an automatic enemy elimination. Yeah. Let's do that. So we really only have to attack with the motorized machine gun, the Panzer, and the 2 infantry for a total of 19 factors. To 6 is 3 to 1. Right 1 column shift for combined arms. It's an automatic elimination. That's the 2nd Soviet battalion loss in the game. And then who do we advance with? Do we choose to advance with the infantry or the armor? Actually, if we advance, oh, I guess we do want to advance with the armor, because if for no other reason, then when we set up this attack, we can get the combined arms bonus. And actually, he could. Okay, so now we go to the movement phase, and actually he can infiltrate 1 more, because he's going to go 1 more. Boom. The motorized machine gun battalion now has freedom to move. He can move back across the river to the east side. He could move here. He could move. What he's going to do is he's going to advance to there and start threatening that central sector, which actually, I may be wrong, but I think that the Soviets are actually now being maneuvered out of their central position here, and I think they're being maneuvered out of their central position here. But we'll see how things develop. Continue with the regular movement phase. He can definitely, well, he goes there. Try to, yeah. This whole stack can go 1 hex across the river there. Engineers, yep. The cavalry will link up with the engineers there now, actually. Wait a minute. We still have this 3rd Regiment back here, ready to follow and support. Do they go this way or do they go up here? Well, let's try the shorter distance, right? Let's try to just go right around here. So we'll send the cavalry up here. 2, 3, there, and we'll go artillery. Now, the 392nd Regiment here, they're going to come in here, try to come in here. So go 1, 2, 3. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Bring up our artillery. Yep. 1, 2. Now they're going to have to wait. Leave some room to retreat here if necessary. There we go. All right. That was actually a significant milestone right there. Okay. And the last division is the 6th Finnish Division. Alright, so 6th Finnish Division down here on the south flank. Alright. What I was thinking for 6th Division is, first of all, go ahead and grab Vuorojärvi, but I'm not going to use it with the light. I could do it quickly with the light infantry here. You know what? I'm going to try to extend lines here and do some reorganization. So I will pull the light infantry back for now. 1/2, 1.5, boom. So we change the control of the village to axis. The engineer is going to move across the forest to 4. I'm going to just move our lines here. This is the 16th Regiment here. We go 2, 3, 3.5. Go 2, 2, 2. This is the 17th Regiment. So 2, 2, 1. So we're just readjusting our lines here. The artillery can move 2. The 6th is still back here on the other side. I think we're finally going to make the decision to move this. I was holding this one infantry battalion back here, deciding whether he's going to go this way in the direction of Mikola or this way to reinforce this movement. I think we're going to go ahead and throw them into the south here. So 1, 3. The artillery might as well keep up. 2 and 3. There we go. So that was the 6th Finnish Division. That ends the, that was all 6 formation segments. That ends turn 3. That ends turn 3. I'll advance the marker to turn 4. And yeah, things are happening. Things are developing. The Soviets don't have enough strength to drive the Axis back in the south. They don't have, or they haven't mustered enough combat strength to really stop this northern flanking drive. They're holding in the center, but it's getting dangerously close to the point where they're going to be maneuvered out of the center here. They now have this, the German motorized machine gun battalion right here is now 2 hexes away from the 122nd Division headquarters here. So the Soviets are going to have to make some serious decisions about what they're going to do with their defense now before the whole defense, or at least the northern half of the defense, collapses in a worse way. Until next time.